The Broadband Investment Equity Act is really an opportunity for Georgia to make a very bold statement, and that is we believe that the broadband industry is an integral part of our future in Georgia, and we believe that the broadband industry should be private sector driven, not public sector driven. Unfortunately, the state has had a pretty bad history of some local governments getting into things as far as cable services, broadband services, that governments ought not be doing, and they end up costing the taxpayers an enormous amount of money. The city of Marietta lost, I believe, $24 million on their cable service they tried to offer, and ended up selling those assets away to a private company. So what we've said is that if you want to get into the broadband business and you're a government entity, number one, you got to play by the same rules as the private sector. I mean, it's not fair that the private sector entities have to pay their employees and break even to stay in business, and the public sector entity could simply just lose money and push that off on the taxpayers. That's not fair. So you've got to play by the same rules. And then the second part is if you're going to invest those type of tax dollars, if you're going to take the money from the taxpayer, then you need to have a referendum and ask that taxpayer if it's okay. And make sure that before you're looking at these multi-million-dollar investments in things that haven't worked in Georgia, that the taxpayers in your community are okay with that. So if you meet those two thresholds in your government entity, you can do that. But what we really want to encourage is private entities taking our broadband to the next level, which they will do if they know they've got a fair marketplace. Well, the first year we had the school choice rally, dozens of people. The second year, hundreds of people. The third year, thousands of people, and it was absolutely amazing.
I hope that my colleagues standing behind me will walk out on these steps and look out here, because what they're looking at today is the future of the state of Georgia. And if they value the future of the state of Georgia, they will give these children every possible opportunity they can have to have an excellent education and therefore a bright future. We know one thing is for certain. Education is the great equalizer. In this country, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you have an education, you can succeed. And all of us here today are united in the single issue of making sure our children, Georgia children, have the greatest possible opportunity at a world-class education. Not a mediocre education, not an okay education, not let's just get by education. These children deserve a world-class education, and they can't get it if they don't have choices.
You know, what we see with these school choice rallies is really something that as a legislator, it makes you feel good, because you see kids out there who care, you see parents out there who care, you see the next generation of Georgians who, because they've been given an opportunity, they're probably going to achieve things they normally wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And this is what we as a General Assembly need to be doing for all of Georgia's school children. If we can make these choices and these opportunities available to all Georgia's school children, then every form of education in Georgia will be better. Our public schools will be better, our charter schools will be better, our private schools will be better, our home schools will be better, and most importantly, the children that have all these opportunities before them will be better off, because now we can move towards an individualized education system, one that recognizes the uniqueness of every individual child. And when we do that, results will follow, and they'll follow in an amazing way. Well, first of all, I'm really excited about answering the questions each week from the constituents and those around Georgia. I'm going to do a couple of those every week, and we think that's a great way to communicate back what's on people's minds. As it pertains to Obamacare, we really started on this a few years ago. Myself and Senator Judson Hill worked on two issues. One, passing a statute in the state of Georgia that said that our insurance commissioner will not implement Obamacare. That passed, that was signed into law. That may set up a situation where the state of Georgia gets sued. We may have to settle this in the courts, but we've taken our stand. The second part of that, we actually attempted to change our Constitution to also say that Georgia would not implement Obamacare, and that as a private citizen in Georgia, you have the right to contract with anybody you want for medical services, and that really strikes at the heart of what Obamacare is about. We want to make sure that private entities, private citizens can coalesce with one another. They can contract with one another to provide medical care without the government telling them that they can't do so. Unfortunately, that provision did not pass. It required a 2/3 vote. We had unanimous Republican support on it. We could not get too much bipartisan support on it to get a full 2/3 of the Senate. So that didn't pass. The statute did pass. But really where we're going to make our mark in the short term, of course, is the lawsuit that Georgia has joined with a number of other states, and our Attorney General Sam Olens is doing a great job on that. And we believe fundamentally that the Obamacare is unconstitutional. We think the courts will follow with that. So we've done a lot here in Georgia, and we stand ready to fight it at every turn. We just don't think that government-run healthcare is the way to go. This week, Commissioner Timley, the chairman of the Cobb County Commission, requested that the I-75-575 project be put into the list for TIA. And when that original roundtable met to determine that list, they had not thought to put that in there because that was already a project that was on schedule to be completed. That is, without question, the single most important issue in the Northwest Corridor for traffic mitigation. We've got to add lanes to 75 and 575. Some of the other things we've been talking about, high-speed rail, flex rail, any of that, those are things that are on a wish list. But if we really want to solve traffic, we've got to have that plan implemented. We've got to start construction on those additional lanes. The good news is in addition to the commission chairman, the mayor of Kennesaw, who was part of the roundtable, myself and others who say that's got to be part of any package. I guess more importantly, the governor of Georgia just a couple of weeks ago also talked about the importance of that road project. So whether we do it through the normal DOT process or whether it's through some other process, we've got to have those additional lanes up 75 and 575. It is the most heavily congested commute area in all of Metro Atlanta. It's extremely important for anybody that lives in North Cobb, Cherokee, even Bartow County. And one way or another, we're going to have to get there. And I think that we're on our path to doing so.